So, people who have pets understand that when your dog is cozy, you can't just move them. So, I can't fix my bed at the moment, so I'm just gonna stay cozy too and let him sleep. Oh, I disturbed him. I disturbed you. I'm so sorry. Um, so, I've put a poll on the community section of my channel asking what sort of book you wanted me to read after I finished with the fairy tales book. I still have a couple more stories left in the fairy tale book, but I only got 2 votes on that one, so put your vote in if you can, so I can know what to read. But I'm just gonna do a little sample of this one because I got a vote for the Tesla book, which this one is The Life and Times of an Electric Messiah. So I like how the paper looks old. Tesla. I used to have a crush on him. He's kind of hot. That is until I found out he was into eugenics, which they talk about later on. But Stranger from a Strange Land is part 1. Birth of a Visionary, Electric Brainwaves, Meeting Thomas Edison, the Westinghouse Corporation. Part 2 is Unlimited Powers, Father of the Wireless, Niagara Falls, Tesla's Extreme Science in Colorado Springs. Part 3 is Impossible Ideas, Taking on Marconi, Fresh Dreams on Flying, the Nobel Prize, Destroying the Dream, Descent and Reassessment, Talking to Pigeons, A New Source of Energy, The Final Days, Posthumous Recognition. So that's the contents. 1856 to 1943. I have some coffee. I'm gonna get some of it. I just have to reach for it because it's by my table. Okay, so if you mean the man who really invented, in other words, originated and discovered, not merely improved, what had already been invented by others, then without a shade of doubt, Nikola Tesla is the world's greatest inventor, not only at present, but in all history. So Nikola Tesla is the towering genius who made the modern world. All the electrical devices around us owe something to him. Not only did he invent many of the gadgets we depend on today, he had a vision of the future, much of which has become reality long after his death. As long ago as 1900, Tesla wrote of a world system of wireless transmission. The world system has resulted from a combination of several original discoveries made by the inventor in the course of long continued research and experimentation. It makes possible not only the instantaneous and precise wireless transmission of any kind of signal, messages, or characters to all parts of the world, but also the interconnection of the existing telegraph, telephone, and other signal stations without any change in their present equipment. By its means, for instance, a telephone subscriber here may call up and talk to any other subscriber on the globe. This is surely the mobile phone network we have over a century later, and his autobiography, My Inventions, published in 1919, he envisaged that in 9 months, without undue expense, he could deliver the interconnection of existing telegraph exchanges or offices all over the world, the establishment of a secret and non-interferable government telegraph service, the interconnection of all present telephone exchanges or offices around the globe, the universal distribution of general news by telegraph or telephone in conjunction with the press, the establishment of such a world system of intelligence transmission for exclusive private use, the interconnection and operation of stock tickers of the world, the establishment of a world system of musical distribution, etc. The universal registration of time by cheap clocks indicating the hour with astronomical precision and requiring no attention whatever. The world transmission of typed or handwritten characters, letters, checks, etc. The establishment of a universal marine service enabling the navigators of all ships to steer perfectly without compass, to determine the exact location, hour, and speed, to prevent collisions and disasters, etc. The inauguration of a system of world printing on land and sea, the world reproduction of photographic pictures and all kinds of drawings or records. Here we have the internet, GPS, and sat-nav, but Tesla was not just a visionary who delivered theory. He was a practical man who pioneered alternating current that made it possible to transmit electricity over long distances, allowing electrical appliances to be powered by remote power stations rather than a power station on every street corner as the earlier direct current system envisaged. He is now acknowledged to have beaten Guglielmo Marconi I nailed that name, to the invention of the radio. Indeed, he spoke of his world system of wireless transmission the year before Marconi transmitted the first radio signal across the Atlantic. His Tesla coil, invented in 1891, is widely used in radio and television sets and other electronic equipment. He developed electric motors, generators, X-rays, fluorescent tubes, remote control, and radar. However, many of his inventions are unacknowledged because he was so busy developing new ideas to bother patenting them. Although he was never awarded a Nobel Prize, 3 Nobel laureates lauded him as one of the outstanding intellects of the world, who paved the way for many of the technological developments of modern times. He appeared on the cover of Time magazine, and the unit of magnetic induction, a minor planet, a crater on the moon, an award, and an airport are named after him. He was also played by David Bowie in the 2006 movie The Prestige. God, I love David Bowie. Otherwise, with his talk of death rays and communication from other planets, his image endures as that of the mad scientist. But he was far from mad. He was one of the outstanding figures of the 20th century. Arguably more influential than Einstein, Stravinsky, or Picasso, and 70 years after his death, he deserves to be better known. There's a little picture. This Nikola Tesla examining some of his induction motors, 1898. Part 1, Stranger from a Strange Land. I like the way you can see like little illustrations, like sketches. Chapter 1, Birth of a Visionary. In my boyhood, I suffered from a peculiar affliction due to the appearance of images, often accompanied by strong flashes of light, which marred the sight of real objects and interfered with my thought and action. They were pictures of things and scenes which I had really seen, never of those I imagined. When a word was spoken to me, the image of the object it designed would present itself vividly to my vision, and sometimes I was quite unable to distinguish whether what I saw was tangible or not. This caused me great discomfort and anxiety. Nikola Tesla. It's interesting. Legend has it that Nikola Tesla, the pioneer who brought electric light to nearly every home on the planet, was born in a dazzling electrical storm. Sadly, the meteorological records of the Balkans in the 19th century are not readily to hand, but it would have been a fitting debut for the man who made his own artificial lightning with thunder that could be heard 15 miles away. In 1894, before a large gathering of people in Philadelphia, Tesla ran 250,000 volts through his body to demonstrate the safety of alternating current. An eyewitness to his experiments said that there was light flaming at every pore of his skin, from the tips of his fingers, from the end of every hair on his head. On the night of his birth, hearing the thunder, according to the family lore, the fearful midwife said, "He'll be a child of the storm." His mother responded, "No, of light." Born in the dark of a small Croatian village in Smiljan at midnight on the 10th of July, 1856, Tesla was ethnically a Serb. His family had left Serbia and then, under the Ottoman Empire, for Catholic Croatia when it became part of the burgeoning Austrian Empire in the 1700s. Both his grandfathers had fought in Napoleon's Illyrian army. I'm nailing these European names. That aimed to kick out Habsburg and the Ottomans and unite the Balkans. Tesla's father, Milutin, was an Orthodox priest and wanted Nikola to follow in his footsteps. Milutin was a poet and political activist who wrote of a united Yugoslavia, which did not come about until 1929. His mother, Juka, never learned to read, but she could memorize epic Serbian poems and long passages of the Bible. Tesla attributed his phenomenal memory to her. It's interesting. Electric pet theory. It was the Tesla's family cat, Macaque, that introduced the 3-year-old Tesla to electricity. As I stroked Macaque's back, I saw a miracle that made me speechless with amazement. He recalled it. Macaque's back was a sheet of light, and my hand produced a shower of sparks loud enough to be heard all over the house. The young Tesla asked his father what had caused the sparks. Milutin replied, "Electricity, the same thing you see through the trees in a storm." It led Nikola to think that nature was a cat, and God was stroking it. That night, as it grew dark, Nikola noticed that the cat was surrounded by a halo from the static electricity in its fur. In 1939, looking back on the experience, Tesla said, "I cannot exaggerate the effect of this marvelous night on my childish imagination. Day after day I have asked myself, what is electricity? And have found no answer. 80 years have gone by since that time, and I still ask the same question, unable to answer it. The cat is a legend." Mother of invention. Tesla inherited his flair for inventing from his mother, who he said descended from one of the oldest families in the country and a line of inventors. Both her father and grandfather originated numerous implements for household, agriculture, and other uses. But she stood out even among this remarkable family. He said, "My mother was an inventor of the first order, and would, I believe, have achieved great things had she not been so remote from modern life and its multifold opportunities. She invented and constructed all kinds of tools and devices and wove the finest designs from thread which was spun by her. She even planted the seeds, raised the plants, and separated the fibers herself. That mother's a legend. He also inherited his immense appetite for work from her. She worked indefatigably from the break of day to late at night, he said, and most of the wearing apparel and furnishings of the home was the product of her hands. When she was past 60, her fingers were still nimble enough to tie 3 knots in an eyelash. While famous for her embroidery, she also devised a mechanical egg beater.